Welcome back to another video, and this is my collective makeup review for the month of May. Welcome back, and today we are going to be doing my monthly makeup review video so every month I usually do a video where I collectively review all the makeup products that I have had enough time to try out and sort of form my opinions about them. If you're looking for eyeshadow palette reviews video, I do those separately, and the palette review video for the month of May, it has already gone out before this month, so you should be able to find it on my review playlist. I do think we are having a bit of an exceptional month since we are having quite a decent amount of base products. Usually with base products, especially, like, I don't collect those, I actually use up my foundations, concealers, my powders and setting sprays and so on, so it is a bit exceptional that we're actually having like quite a many base products, also quite a few cheek products, and we're having one lip product, so no sort of eye products like mascaras in this month's video. But let's start talking about the products that I have for this month. So let's start with the base products. First one that we're going to be talking about this one. So I finally used up my P. Louise setting spray that I think I got it last year, and because it was full size it took quite a while to use it up, so I decided to buy the Fenty Beauty setting spray. I was able to get a bit of a discount out of this one, but approximately this goes around 30 euros if you buy the full size bottle. I'm actually a bit unsure that can you buy, I do believe there's a mini version of this one available, but I don't know is it available on all retailers or is it like something, for example, that you can only get at Sephora. But I live in a country that doesn't have a Sephora, but we do have quite a few Fenty retailers, so the full size one was the one that I think was only available in our stands. So about this one, so I think this is called the Makeup Extending Setting Spray, so they are claiming that this should extend the makeup wear. I'm gonna first spray a little bit, and hopefully the camera will capture the mist. I will have to say, I think I mentioned in the April makeup haul video that I showed this the first time that the initial use the spritzer was quite strong, but after the first try it is actually a relatively fine mist, considering that this isn't an aerosol mister, so I will give them credit that the mister is quite fine once you have like sort of broken this out to use for the first time. Now, about the claim of this being an extending setting spray, I do think that this is more maybe closer to what MAC Fix Plus does. So for me, this doesn't feel a extending setting spray in terms of the fact that it would mattify my makeup. I do feel that this is rather something that sort of helps to melt in my makeup. Still not a fan of the scent that this has. I have now gotten used to it as I have worn this more, but it is still, how should I say, I don't think it's kind of floral scent, but not floral in a sweet way, if you know what I'm talking about. So the scent not my favorite, but I have gotten used to it, so it doesn't bother me, and the scent obviously dissipates when you use this, so you don't have to worry about it lingering. So I think for like sort of molding in your makeup together as a finishing step, this is quite of a nice product, but I don't feel that this has helped necessarily with the longevity of my makeup. I don't feel this necessarily extend the makeup wear, so yeah, if you're looking for something that is more helps to sort of helps as a finishing step on your makeup routine, I do think you're gonna like this one. But if you're looking something to extend your makeup wear, then maybe I would go to look at another kind of a setting spray than this one. Then the foundation that I'm actually currently wearing, so I bit the bullet and tried the Maybelline. This is the, what is it called, Lumi Matte Foundation, and this is in their Superstay line. I discussed already when I first talked about this in I think my makeup news video that the shade range of this one, especially with the fair shades, is quite yellow leaning. I have the fairest shade, so I have the shade 98, and this is the foundation that I'm currently wearing, so you can kind of make your conclusions about that how it looks on my skin. I have now discussed this quite extensively on my channel, that my skin has been on a sort of changing journey ever since I seem to have turned 30. So I'm a bit now like over 30 years old, but during the last couple of years especially, I used to suffer from a combo oily skin, and now I think we have moved towards maybe combo dry skin, which is causing a lot of issues because I've been having to change my skincare routine. I'm still trying to sort of doing the transition with my makeup products, because I've been buying my whole life makeup products that are designed for oily skin, so more mattifying things, but now since I no longer have that much of a oily skin but rather than a dry skin, so that is why I also think that I think a couple of years ago I would have been pretty excited about this one, but now I think it's quite obvious that I have to start actually buying foundations that are suitable for a drier skin and just start testing out what works, because I have tried some glowing foundations in the past, and unfortunately because of my skin type back then was still what it used to be previously, and obviously because I was more oily, the glowy foundations usually didn't work out for me that well. But I think now it's just time for me to like admit it, that I have to start buying foundations that are more suitable for dry skin. And for that reason, it has been okay foundation to try out, and I don't think it looks horrible, and especially on camera I think it looks okay, but I can see, for example, on a sort of normal day-to-day use with this one, that it tends to look a bit cakey on me. It doesn't look, doesn't really like, how should I say, it doesn't flatter my skin necessarily. I do think for longevity purposes this has lasted, like if I put this early in the morning, I know I washed this around 9 or 10 o'clock in the evening, I do think the longevity of this one is pretty good. So if you are into this sort of demi-matte finish is what I would call it, I don't think you're gonna be disappointed with this one. But for a drier skin type, I wouldn't recommend this one. I just don't think that this looks nice. But for a combo oily skin, I do think this would be a good drugstore foundation to look into. And also about the shade range, as I said, if you're someone who has a light to fair skin tone, a lot of the light to fair shades are unfortunately quite yellow leaning. But if you have a yellow leaning undertone, then you're probably gonna find a shade. However, if you have a more neutral to cooler, especially cool rosy undertone like I do, then you necessarily won't find an exact shade match. Then the concealer, again, this is a product that I'm currently wearing. So this is the Bbia, so this is a K-beauty brand. I'm not gonna pronounce the whole name because this has a very long and not so easy name to pronounce, but I will put all the product names will be in the description box. But I have the shade, I think this was the 17 Fair. Again, just like maybe with the Maybelline foundation, this has a yellow undertone, and I have noticed this with a lot of the K-beauty sort of foundation and concealer products, that the undertones are either very neutral or yellow undertone. I've been having a bit difficulties finding good K-beauty based products because of the fact that a lot of undertones, they just don't suit a more cooler undertone. But if we push the undertone issue aside, I actually do think this is a pretty okay concealer. This has a bit of a funny applicator. This is perhaps the thing that I'm not so excited about. So it has this sort of spatula applicator, and as someone who prefers their concealers to have a doe foot, this hasn't been the most convenient concealer to apply. But if you can get sort of over the spatula applicator of this one, I do think this gives a good medium to full coverage. So if you're, especially because I do know that a lot of K-beauty foundation and concealers, they aren't necessarily advertising them to be, how should I say, full coverage products, but I do think this Bbia concealer actually is pretty full coverage, and I do think the finish of it's quite nice. It's a more, I wouldn't say it's like a full-on matte. I do think it's actually more of a satin finish once you get it under eyes, so I do actually think that this has been a pretty good concealer altogether, considering my current skin type. The shade range of this one, at least the shades that were available in our K-beauty retailers, could use some work. I, at least in our retailers, didn't see any deeper skin tones, and also not, like, I wouldn't even say medium skin tone, like appropriate shades. I think our retailer had 4 or 5, and those were all pretty light shades, so that's just something to consider, that the shade range of this one could be a bit pretty limited. But yeah, I think if you're looking for a more medium to full coverage K-beauty concealer, this could be something to try out, but just be aware that, as I said, the applicator, if you're used to your doe foots like I am, this could be something that you might like or you might not like, depending on your preferences. And for the last of base products, so this is another relatively new product from Morphe. I've been trying out a lot of Morphe products recently because since they had their ownership change, I do think they have been like improving with their products, and they've been actually launching some interesting looking stuff. So this is the Morphe corrector. They launched this in concealer and corrector shades. I got the peach corrector shade, and this is the Wakeup Artist Under Eye Correcting Concealer Blossom 01. So this is the sort of orangey orangey corrector shade, which is good for someone like me who has a fair skin and who does suffer from dark under eyes. How do I describe the formula? I do think this is a bit of a thicker concealer corrector formula. My sort of how I sort of review my corrector shades, that my sort of best corrector formula that I have tried is still the Essence corrector, which I did give quite a lot of. I think that's the only corrector that made it to my favorite makeup products from last year, because it like melted into your skin so nicely, but it didn't look heavy or cakey, it didn't mess up with your foundation and concealer, and it still had the brightening effect, and it was also a product that I could like wear without concealer and it still brightened my under eyes. This is very brightening. I will give this product that. So if you're looking for a super brightening concealer, this is it. However, I do feel that because it's a bit thicker and heavier formula, it doesn't quite melt in. I do feel that I had to do quite a lot of blending in with this one to sort of get it to meld in with my sort of rest of the base products that I wear. So with this one, I have to say that I'm not probably gonna re-buy this particular product, because I do think, especially as corrector, which is something that I would before my concealer and foundation, for me it needs to be something that melts in quite easily with the rest of your makeup. But if you're looking for something super brightening, again, English is my first language, this could actually be a good product for you. And if you're wearing this alone without adding any concealer, for example, on top of it, then this could be something that if you use it just by itself, it could be a good product for you. But I wouldn't say that this is probably doesn't go for the best corrector shades that I have tried. But yeah, those were the sort of base products, and let's now next move to cheek products, and those, again, we have quite a few for this one. Okay, so let's do it this way, that I'm first gonna review the only highlighter that we have, and the rest are sort of, there's face palettes and then there are blushes. So I finally tried the Charlotte Tilbury powder highlighter. This is one of those Charlotte Tilbury products that have been in my drawers for like a long time, and now I've been trying finally trying them out, because obviously these are quite expensive products to be just laying around in my drawer. So I have this in the shade Pillow Talk Glow, so obviously because it's Charlotte Tilbury, I kind of thought that I will go with the Pillow Talk shade, and this is how we are looking. I'm gonna actually show this close by. So it is a bit of a pinkier highlighter. This definitely goes to the category of highlighters that you will definitely know that you're wearing highlighter when you put this one. So this is not going to be one of those highlighters that are going to be subtle or are going to melt into your skin. This is a very obvious highlighter. I do think actually for my fair skin, this might be a tad deep shade, because I felt that at the times that I used this one, it really did make a cast on my cheekbones. So this could be that if I would have gotten a fairer shade, this could actually maybe have worked out for me better. However, if you are looking for a very blinding and effective highlighter at a sort of higher end price point, this isn't like a bad formula. I do think that even though it kind of did create a bit of a cost due to it being a bit deeper shade, I do still think that altogether the formula worked out quite nicely. And obviously if you want to have a highlighter that shows up, this will definitely show up and you don't have to build it a lot. So for me, this is kind of 50-50 products. I do kind of like it for the fact that, because I'm a person who usually, there are days when I want a more subtle highlighter, but for those days that I want my highlighter to show up, this definitely is something that I would use. However, the shade for me is maybe that deeper, but that could be fixed by getting a lighter shade. Then a individual blush, and this is another K-beauty product. So this is again by Dasique, and this is one of their mousse blushes. This is the Souffle color pot, and this is in the shade 08. The shade name is gonna be in the description box, because these did have English shade names aside from the number. So this is one of those potted mousse blushes that have been pretty popular. I have seen a lot of K-beauty brands coming out with products like this one. I'm gonna be saying that this isn't necessarily gonna be the best mousse blush formula that I have tried. I actually can show this because I'm gonna be doing a sort of blush favorite video. So My favorite mousse blushes have been these one. These are from Makeup Revolution mousse blushes, and I feel that compared to example for these ones, this just didn't blend out and work out as well. This is a very, how should I say, matte blush, so you do have to like your matte blushes, and I do think that if you're suffering from extremely dry skin and you have a lot of texture on your cheeks, this necessarily won't look the best, because I do feel that with this one I did have to work quite a bit for it to get to work. Even though I'm having a bit more drier skin than I used to have, I do think that I was able to make this look quite nice. I do actually like this sort of mauvish pink leaning shade that I picked out from the range, but altogether it just wasn't as, how should I say, as blendable and as easy to work as, for example, the Makeup Revolution blush that I just showed. This is also something that you can use on your lips, or they at least advertise this as something that you can use your lips. I'm gonna just show this. So they have this small brush that is supposed to be used for lip application. I did test out the lip application, but I'm gonna be honest, on lips this just feels very dry. So for lips, unless you really like this sort of matte blurred lip effect that this kind of gives, if you don't like that one, then I wouldn't use this on your lips, because I don't feel that it works out that well. So while I do think this is cute and I do like the packaging, I don't think this is going to be going to my favorite blushes of the year, because I just felt that this needed maybe a bit more work than I would have liked it to require. Then we're gonna have another Morphe product, and these have been pretty popular. So these are I tried one of the Cheek Thrill blushes, and this is in the shade Blind Date. I have to say this was a lot pinkier than what I expected. I was expecting this to be maybe a bit more rosy red leaning, and they do actually have a hot pink shade that is even more like very like Barbie pink in the range. But yeah, that's just online images don't always tell the truth, and unfortunately with this one I wasn't able to see it in store before buying it. So just like a lot of these trio products, there's this one actually has two cream shades. So one is a blush and this one is a blush lighter, and then there's a matte blush up here. And I have a comparison product to this one, not like formula comparison, but with this one I do have to say the blush lighter, unfortunately, the middle shade over here, this feels a bit redundant. I tried the blush lighter, I have tried applying it on top of, I think, the cream and also the powder product, and I don't feel the blush lighter does a lot, because I do think that if you're gonna include a blush lighter, obviously expect that it's gonna be very shiny, but the cream blush that this already has, that's already a bit like more satin-like, and I don't feel that when I applied the sort of blush lighter, it didn't really add anything. I have also tried the blush lighter alone as a sort of like individual blush, and it does work, but again, I don't think the finish between the two cream shades over here, I don't think it's that different. The matte blush formula in here, it's okay, but I wouldn't say it's the best matte blush that I have ever tried. I think it's like it goes to the category of drugstore blushes. It works, but it's not gonna be something that I'm gonna say that you have to get this blush trio because of the sort of matte blush that this has. The cream blush formula, so the one over here, with that one I do have to say that I still think I like the sort of swirl, the round blushes that have the swirl imprint on them that Morphe came out, I think it was during last year. I have actually reviewed that on my channel, so I do think that that formula was a bit better than the cream blush that is over here, because I do feel that because I do think the Morphe blush that has the swirl, they are saying that it's somehow primer infused, and I do think it had a bit of this like blurring effect once you got it on the cheek. The cream blush in this one, I don't think it emphasized textures or did anything bad, but I just feel that the sort of swirled blush, it looks a bit better compared to the cream blush that is included in these trios. So I think this is one of those products that if you find, because they did have decent amount of shades in this one, and I do think the packaging is kind of cool. So I do think that if you find a shade in this line and you want to try this out, then go ahead, but I don't think you should be having too high of expectations. I have definitely like tried better drugstore products, and as I said, for example, I think that if you're looking for cream blushes from Morphe, I would go with the rounded ones that have the swirl imprint on them, because I do think that that looks kind of nicer. So this goes to the category of products that are kind of meh. So then a bit of a surprising thing, so I managed to get my hands on one of these NARS face palettes. So NARS is not a brand that I can buy from our makeup stores, however I saw that Notino, which is not an online retailer, I have known that about the retailer because it's one of the bigger online retailers here in Europe, but I haven't never bought anything from them. I do think they should improve their website. The website is straight out from like 2010s. Like, it was probably a good website design on 2010, but website design have gone onward. It's very hard to, for example, sort new products on their website. But anyway, back to the product. So Notino had a very good offer where they had this on sale, even though this was like relatively new one. So this is the this is the fairest variation. So this is the Hot Escape Cheek palette, and this is the one that has the Trill blush. And then there's the Bbia highlighter, then there's Bad Behavior, which I think is also the blush lighter, and then they has the Laguna bronzer in the shade 01. So this is actually a good thing that I'm filming my blush video after this, because I can do some comparisons. So with the blushes and the Laguna bronzer, so I reviewed and actually ranked these individual NARS blushes because NARS reformulated their blush range last year, and I rated and ranked this quite highly because I think that this was one of the high-end blush formulas where I felt that it was very nicely more of a buildable blush formula, where you where it wasn't like immediately pigment pang. There are days when I want my blushes to be pigmented, and then there are days when I want something like this, which is more buildable, but it looks very nice and sort of smooth on your cheeks. So I went to this palette when I first time used it, thinking that the formula of this one and this one should be comparable, especially because I do think that the blushes, that the matte blush that is in here, it's supposed to be the same blush that you can buy individually in this range. This is a lot pigmented compared to this one. So I had the Boo Boo when I first time used it. I just went heavy-handed with my blush brush, thinking that okay, it's the same as this one, so it's more buildable, so I can go a bit heavy-handed, and I had a big chunk of like brown bronzer all over my cheekbone, and same with the pink blush. It was like we had to do quite a lot of makeup fixing. So if you have used the individual NARS blushes, I can't talk about the individual bronzers because I have never tried individual NARS bronzer, but if you're going into this thinking it's going to be similar formula to this one, use a light hand. After I had gotten the hang of it, that this is indeed a bit of a different and more pigmented formula, it is a very nice formula. I'm actually wearing the bronzer, the blush and the highlighter, so not the blush lighter but the highlighter shade on my cheek, so because there's daylight coming, it's probably washing out my cheek quite a lot. But I am using this today, and I do think that after I got the hang of it, that this isn't as sort of buildable, but rather these are quite punchy and pigmented pressed powders. Then I have liked using this one. Is this a bit basic in terms of cheek palettes? I was kind of eyeing the second lightest one, but I think the bronzer, because I do have to say that even though this has the Laguna 01, which is supposed to be the fairest bronzer shade, it is quite of a pigmented and very sort of brown, heavy orange leaning bronzer, which is, because it's a bronzer, obviously I can accept that the shades can be a bit more warmer leaning. I would obviously prefer a more neutral leaning bronzer because I have a cooler skin undertone, but I do get it that as a bronzer usually they are more warmer. But this is the Laguna bronzer, definitely, at least the one that is in this palette. It's very warm and like brown orangey leaning, so that's just something to consider when using this. So but it still like works out very well, and I have liked using it, and everything blends out really well. I do like the highlighter. It is one of those highlighters that will show up. You will definitely know that you are wearing highlighter, but it's very easy to blend in your skin. It doesn't emphasize any textures. And the blush lighter in this one, when I said when talking about the Morphe palette that with that one I didn't feel that the blush lighter does anything, with this one, this blush lighter will definitely change your looks. It's definitely gonna be changing the sort of matte blush to looking a very like shiny shimmery blush. Maybe consider that if you're like thinking about buying this cheek duo, that are blush lighters something that you will use, because I used to be a person and I still kind of don't like my blush to be full on glitter all over my cheeks. I do think that this blush lighter, when you apply it on top of the matte blush, it kind of changes into a more satiny blush, where satiny blush that has a sheen that is still not too glittery, but this is quite of a... If you truly like only matte blushes, then maybe consider that is the squad worth getting it. But overall, I'm happy with the quality of this one. It's more pigmented than what I expected. I do like the beachy stripe design that this has. As I said, I was eyeing also the second quad, but I do think the bronzer shade, considering that the Laguna bronzer shade in this one is already quite like orangey leaning, I think the bronzer shade in the shade up from this one is probably would already be like too deep and even more like more sort of brown and orangey leaning. So I think I'm gonna be happy sticking with this one. But do you consider, is it worth getting this quad, or are you good maybe getting only one individual blush and bronzer, or just one highlighter? Because I do definitely think that you really have to like all your shades for this quad to be worth it for you. The product I have is another K-Beauty product. So do think I shopped the K-Beauty products during April, so that is why you are seeing now them on the May video, because I do like to take my time using up the product so I can tell more about, so I can be sure of my opinions about them. So I got one of the Rom&nd glosses. Again, I'm gonna put the full name in the description box because they don't have the shade name on the packaging, but this has the shade number. I think this was 04. So this is what I would call a very nice basic lip gloss formula. It's a more opaque formula, so if you especially like your lip gloss to give color on your lips, this is not the lip product I'm wearing today. I do think it might be obvious because obviously I'm wearing something a bit more like bright pink. It's actually the Charlotte Tilbury lip gloss that it's not, for some reason it's not available for me right now, but I'm just to be clear, I'm not wearing this particular shade today. I have a different lip combo. But regarding this one, it gives a nice sort of mauvish color on your lips. I do think it gives a nice amount of hydration. This lasts, I do say it lasts an alright time, obviously, because it's a lip gloss. If you are drinking and eating during the daytime, you do have to reapply it, but I do think that this is something that definitely doesn't disappear immediately. I have definitely had those lip glosses that immediately when you put them on your lips, for some reason it takes a couple of minutes and you're feeling like where did all the lip gloss go. So I do think that it is a very decent gloss formula. Is this something that I would go run out and buy? Not necessarily. K-Beauty I do think has quite a lot of, because K-Beauty, they either do these like comfort matte lips and then they do a lot of glosses. So I don't have a lot of comparisons because I had this, I think this is the first K-Beauty gloss that I have tried, but I think that I don't think this is necessarily like anything exceptional. I'm trying to think how much did I pay for this one. I think it was a bit over 10 euros, so you are maybe able to get like some Western drugstore glosses a bit cheaper. This isn't like what I would call the cheapest glosses from a drugstore range prices, but I do think that if this is something else available to you and you want to try out, and you especially like a more opaque gloss that gives a bit more color, I do think that this is a very nice formula, and I do actually kind of like this packaging. I do think it's quite cute with the cap and with this more like clear cap and then the more opaque tube. But yeah, that was actually the only sort of product I had for the lips, and this pretty much was the last product we had for today. So those were all the products we had for today. I do have to say, I don't think we had that many favorites. I think the only thing that I would say was my favorite was the NARS face palette, because I do think the powder quality of this one, while it was perhaps more pigmented than what I expected from NARS, it was still very on par with the sort of high-end quality that I expect, where it's very effortless to work out and everything kind of works in together. And I do think the packaging of this one was also very nice. So I think this is the only one that I would say our favorite, because I do think that with the rest of the products there were kind of like some things that I liked about them, but then also a lot of things that I didn't like. And I don't think in terms of rebuying there wasn't any product here that I think would go that if I use it up that I will have to go immediately and replace it. Even with this one I would say that Obviously, this is like I said, this was the best one we had, but because this is also quite inexpensive individual purchase, and I do have my share of face palette. Like even with this one, I wouldn't, if this broke or I suddenly lost it, I don't think I would go out my way and buy this again. But as I said, in terms of like quality, I do say that this was still my favorite. But this was perhaps a bit meh, and also maybe a bit how should I say, bit bummed because there wasn't like, we had some drugstore things, but we also did have kind of what I would say also quite pricey things. But it goes like that some ways, and that's what kind of happens when you try a lot of makeup. Sometimes the products work out for you and sometimes they don't. Comment down below what kind of products have you been trying out, and what maybe have been your favorites, and maybe some also fails, so we might avoid buying bad makeup products also here. If you like this video, push the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell button if you want to get notifications from our future content. You can also find me with the same nickname, Makeup Hedgehog, on Instagram. I hope I'll see you soon in another video. Bye bye!